Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Imperfect Men's Club podcast. My name is Mark Aylward, and I'm here as always with my good friend, colleague, and co-host Jim Gurley. And again, it's so redundant, Jim, but I can't help but say we had a really nice pregame, and you came up with a topic. What are we talking about today?
Yeah, today, Mark, we're going to talk about self-discipline. Of course, this is always inspired by our framework of self-awareness. But as you know, I follow some Stoic stuff once in a while, and came across these five Stoic rules. It also is relevant to our podcast, Imperfect Men's Club. And our tagline is "The imperfection is the perfection." And
Hmm.
as you'll see as we get further down this, discipline doesn't have to be perfect. It's the imperfection of that. So, but yeah, they have these five Stoic rules, and let's break these down. But start off with just self discipline and what that means, and then also a couple
Yeah,
Stoic quotes.
yeah. It's the context is within Stoicism, and the quotes are Seneca and Marcus Aurelius. But
Mhm.
it starts off with self-discipline isn't a personality trait you either have or don't have. It's a skill that can be developed. You don't need perfect execution. You just need to keep applying these five rules, one decision at a time. And Seneca reflects on this by saying, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality.
Mhm.
Marcus Aurelius's take is you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this
Mhm.
and you will find strength. And so
Mhm.
what you've got here are the five Stoic rules for self-discipline. And
Yeah.
number, number
Well, let's break them down one at a time. But before that, just what are your thoughts about those two quotes from Seneca and Marcus Aurelius? I mean, we've heard those names a lot, but
hmm
does that touch you
yeah.
in any way? The first one, we suffer more often in our imagination than reality. It's so true, isn't it?
Oh, I think of self-talk. I think of
Yeah,
our inner critics and I think of the thing that I used to use with my kids all the time and still do, and that is, 90% of the stuff we worry about never happens,
yeah, yeah.
and so those things come to mind. And then Marcus Aurelius is, he's a fascinating guy. I mean, both these guys were, but you have power over your mind. I mean, that's the whole thing about what can you control and what you can't control.
Yep.
And everything outside of your mind is usually out of your control,
Mhm.
but within your mind, it's totally in your control. Much
Yeah.
easier said than done in my experience.
Yeah, and that's comes back to self-discipline. And but like you said, so much of these we get wrapped up in seeing what's going on in the news. We get wrapped up in things and events that we have no control of. So I'm conscious of it. Try not to get too involved. I think both of us have signed off. Let's just say tabloid news.
Yeah.
I know you did a few months
Yeah.
ago. I occasionally, it's not that I don't follow the news. I'm interested in it, but I found that certain talking heads are really just agitators of and dividers
Well,
of.
yeah, I mean, it's their agitation is a good thing. They inflame because people like car accidents more than they like,
Yeah.
stories about kittens. It's
Mhm.
just like that's just the way we're wired, and they take advantage of that. And man, I tell you, I have not been 100% out, but I'm way more out than I was, and it was life changing for me. I mean, I
Yeah.
had a level of anxiety that just disappeared, and
Yeah.
it comes back sometimes, but it was like hanging over my head.
Oh,
And
sure.
I think I told you, I was like, I don't know what it is, but I think I'm going to quit watching the news. And it was like 2 days later, I felt like a different person.
Yeah. Well,
So,
that's a great example of self-discipline. Most people can't do that because it is there. Let's face it, there's a dopamine hit. There's some addiction to that to get that feeling and rooting for your team against the other team. I heard something also recently, and it really resonated in terms of the I said the agitators, but if you think about let's just say a politician, that's their job is to go out there and divide to really gaslight and accuse one. We talked about this last week, right? The hypocrisy
mhm.
and the projection, self-projection of these issues. It's becoming, as time goes on, more and more obvious to me to the point where I don't respect these people. I find them almost evil that's what they decided to commit their life to doing. And I think it's a lower level of living. And you'll notice that too if you talk to somebody, say you just meet somebody and you're just getting to know them, you could tell if they've listened to Fox News, all day long before they got to the bar or whatever it was. They don't really have an original thought.
Hmm.
What they're really, they're just mimicking. They're like a parrot. They're just repeating whatever they heard that day.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
know what's fascinating is when they, particularly the Democrats, the left
yeah,
side of things, far left, I suppose, but
yeah.
when
But
they,
it is both sides. I
it
have to
is,
say,
no, no
yeah,
question. But it's when they get on a manipulative course, the other side will show 15 different people and they're all using the exact same phrase, right? And like one after another.
it's like, yeah, they're reading word for word.
Yeah, they're not. I believe they're being told what to say,
Oh, there's no
and
question.
yeah, and
There's a script.
they're
Yeah,
pumping the propaganda because it works. It's historic in history. It's always worked. Propaganda. That's
yeah,
what keep you getting
yeah.
you. So let's talk about the first one. This number,
Okay.
the first of five. Control
Yeah.
what you can, release what you can't. Self discipline begins with a ruthless assessment of self control. You control your thoughts and your actions and your responses. You don't control outcomes, other people's opinions, or external events. And when you stop fighting against these external forces, your energy is freed up to concentrate on what you can influence. Instead of worrying about whether your project succeeds, you focus on putting the quality work. Instead of stressing about rejection, you focused on approaching. And instead of obsessing over results, you focus on the process. I love that last one.
Wow.
Yeah, I love.
No, there's a lot to that one, right? The one that I think I can most resonate with at the moment is being attached to the outcomes, because you know, as a competitor, as just your personality, you become obsessed with the outcome when you don't always, come on, we don't have that much control of the outcome. There's so many factors. You know, all we have control of is the self-discipline to do the work that could produce the desired outcome.
Yeah,
But
when as you know, I create a lot of content online, and I do
yeah,
it on purpose to get attract a certain type of prospect and turn them into clients. And that whole process is, everybody pretty much teaches the same thing. Everyone's pushing authenticity, everyone's talking about hooks and calls to action, and everyone's
mhm,
kind of teaching the same stuff in my
mhm,
experience. But what happens is there's no method to when you cross the divide and all of a sudden
interesting.
the flow of prospects increases to a more consistent level. It could be 6 months, it could be a year and a half. And so you can't focus on the outcome. You have to get whatever process you're comfortable with, you have to get one. It has to be comfortable for you. It has to be attainable. It has to be sustainable, and you have to do it. And most people, and this is talked about all the time, online will quit before they get to that momentum. And
Interesting. Yeah.
because it's difficult to tell when it's coming. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Oh, it does. Yeah. And then we'll move on to the next one. I'll just say this: instead of obsessing over results, focus on the process. That's the discipline, right? That's the
Yeah.
blocking, tackling. That's
Yeah.
the base fundamental. So,
Yeah, and that's where I came up with my process that I have been taking
yeah.
action on every day for a long time, and it gets comfortable. It's like a blanket.
Yeah.
Just don't think about results. Just think about, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
So number two is choose actions over feelings. Well, that sounds almost political. Your feelings are unreliable guides. One morning you wake up motivated and ready to conquer the world. The next morning you can barely drag yourself out of bed. If you
Yeah.
wait for the right feeling before taking action, you'll wait forever.
Yeah, come on. There's days when you wake up and you just don't feel as good as you did the day before. That's
Yeah.
the difference between the amateurs and the pros. The pros show up and
Yeah, I
they
can tap into, and I'm sure you can too, this feeling like it was yesterday, where when I was more regularly working out at the gym, or
yeah.
maybe playing basketball or softball in a league, and you would go and you would get up one morning and you wouldn't feel like going and you'd go anyway. Those workouts for me were the best workouts because
Interesting.
the
Yeah.
sense of reward, like I almost didn't come today and I did anyway, and now I feel like $1 million. You know,
Yeah.
there's something,
Yeah.
there's definitely something emotional and mental about that for sure.
Yeah. What I've used, and it always seems to work, is I don't focus on the pain. I don't think about the pain during. I focus on the feeling after.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like as you said, sometimes it's better. Like you start off, say I run, a couple times a week, 2 or 3 times. I'll sprint the hills. So do like 5 to 10 sprints up the hill, and It's so interesting because sometimes you just like your body just doesn't feel right, and by the time you're on your fifth or sixth one, now all of a sudden it's maybe one of the best runs you've ever had in the strength, and it's called just pushing through the resistance.
Yeah.
And then afterwards you feel good, but you never know. And I find that so interesting because you felt like complete shit. You didn't feel like almost didn't go. I just didn't feel like doing it that day. But
Mm,
when I think about how
mm.
good I feel after, not before, not during, to your point, it usually works out. You
Yeah.
never know.
Yeah,
So
and I think the mind is capable of turning us off more
yep,
quickly than our bodies. I think we can push ourselves physically well beyond what we think we can.
yep,
And guys like David Goggins and Wim Hof, those guys, they're doing all kinds. They're pushing the envelope all the time. I
yeah.
don't know if that would be sustainable for me, but the concept is sound for sure.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I mean, like you said, all comparison leads to misery. One of my favorite quotes. So compare yourself to David Goggins is, that's a high bar
oh, I'm
to do.
not comparing
But
myself to David Goggins. I'm totally talking about the principle of it,
yeah,
not the reality of it.
yeah,
You know.
yeah, so
It's interesting though.
yeah,
It's always interesting to watch someone physically overcome their emotional and mental limitations. That's always
yeah.
interesting, entertaining. So number three is delay pleasure to strengthen willpower.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is instant gratification weakens you. Every time you reach for the easy comfort instead of the harder but better choice, you train yourself to be soft. The Stoics understood that self-discipline is a muscle that grows through resistance. Each time you resist the immediate comfort, something shifts inside you. You prove to yourself that you're capable of choosing what's best over what's easy. This builds mental toughness that carries into every area of life. Start small, wait 5 minutes before checking your phone, finish one more task before taking a break. These tiny delays might seem insignificant, but they compound over time. Your brain learns that temporary discomfort won't destroy you and that delayed rewards are often sweeter than instant ones.
Yeah.
I am going to take that one to heart today because I think that
What?
that
Why?
just well, it's kind of what we were talking about in the pregame about the things that I'm sensing I'm feeling a little guilty about, like that, when I have too much to drink or when I promise myself I'm going to do something or not do something and then don't fulfill that promise. And I think that this might help with that. It might help with whatever guilt is kind of floating around there because I totally agree with it. That's 100% true, you know?
Mhm.
And I like the
Yeah,
starting.
this one I like this one because it applied it to a modern day life. They're Stoics. Obviously, there was no texting, there was no TikTok videos. They didn't have all these instant gratification tools, not as many. But I do think this is something that we all are challenged with. That phone is so addicting. Whether it's looking for a text, whether it's the short video, whatever it is, it's hard to put down. And that instant gratification is now in our hand or in our pocket, twenty four
Hmm.
seven.
Hmm.
It,
Yeah,
it,
I've
it,
seen a couple of studies, actual no live events where they would strap sensors to people and they would take their phone and they would just put it across the room so they could
Mhm.
see it, but they couldn't reach it. And they were sitting down,
Oh yeah,
and the bells and whistles that went off in the brain and the heart, blood pressure, all kinds of shit. I mean, it went off the charts when that
yeah,
is because they'd send a text to the phone and it would chirp, and then the
yeah,
owner of the phone who's strapped up to all these sensory devices, every single one of them would just the alarm would go off. It was crazy, you know.
yeah. Yeah, it's the ultimate rat test, right? It's kind of sick that we have programmed our minds to react to the short term
Have you heard of
hits.
the? Is I think it was a marshmallow thing with kids. They would
Mm-hmm.
put kids in a room and they would hand them a marshmallow and then say, if you wait 20 minutes before you eat this, we'll give you another one. And
Yeah,
the behavior was all over the place, but they tracked the kids later on, and the ones that waited for 20 minutes for the other were far more
yeah,
successful in school.
yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah, the other one about this is using the muscle because the brain is a muscle. So you think of muscles, you're lifting weights. Obviously, you need to it needs to you need to break it down that it grows. The resistance is what's building the muscle. It's the mechanics of what it takes. But the brain is a muscle. So
Yep.
if you don't exercise that muscle, well, then it shrinks, and like a lot of things, it'll eventually form atrophy.
Yeah, I
So
think I tend to look at most everything that is productive or profitable or successful, and I don't think there's an exception. There might be, prove me wrong, but I think everything happens with small, almost insignificant progress steps compounded over long periods of time. And
Oh,
that's
of
why
course.
I liken everything to exercise. You use the term, you got to put the reps in all the time. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
You got to put the reps
Yeah.
in over time, you know?
Yeah, it's like you said, it's the difference between the amateurs and the pros. The
Yeah.
amateurs just do it as a hobby part time. The pros do it every single day, and that's why
Yeah.
they get paid, and that's why their level of performance is so much higher. So
Yeah, they do. They talk about that in the writing world all the time. The
yeah,
pros show up every day.
yeah.
So number 4 is practice voluntary discomfort. Um, Comfort makes you fragile. Is this the one I just read? No. When,
No, you haven't done
no.
four yet. Yeah,
When you avoid every unpleasant experience, you lose your ability to handle challenges when they arrive uninvited. The Stoics deliberately exposed themselves to hardship as preparation for the inevitable difficulties of life. Voluntary discomfort isn't masochism, it's a form of training. Take a cold shower in the morning. Wake up early than you need to. Work out harder than feels comfortable. Fast for a day. These practices teach you that discomfort is survivable and often temporary. This practice creates a psychological advantage when real hardship arrives, and it will. You've already proven to yourself that you can handle being uncomfortable. You don't
yeah,
panic at the first sign of difficulty because you've trained yourself to stay calm in the face of challenge. Yeah.
yeah. Voluntary discomfort where you almost have to get to a point where you desire the discomfort, and there is a point where you enjoy the discomfort
Mm-hmm.
versus avoiding it. They use cold showers and cold plunges become super popular right now, and that's one of the reasons. The effect that
Mm-hmm.
that gives you, the shock that that does to your body afterwards. I've
Mm-hmm.
done it a few times. I do. I have a sauna, so that's a similar thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're shocking
Yeah.
your body,
Yeah.
um, and it yeah, there's a lot of value to that. What it does to the brain, it's just changing the blood flow and all of those things. But yeah, it's a
Yeah,
temporary.
we do Shayla and I, my girlfriend and I do breath work,
Hmm.
and she has a pool that's not heated, and so jumping in
Oh,
that
nice.
pool is it's like an ice bath, depending on the time of year. But I like both of those things. I think that holding your breath for a
But there's some
longer.
discomfort when you're jumping.
Totally. That's why I bring it up. That's why I bring
Yeah.
it up. It's and like I'll jump in that pool. She won't go near it. It's way too cold for her. So it's like
Mhm.
it's definitely discomforting, but it's also, to your point, there's also this feeling of I pushed myself. I
Yeah.
extended myself, and that's satisfying. And I
Mhm.
think it does make you tougher. I think it's good. And
Yeah.
the breath is the same because it's weird, Jim. Some mornings I can hold my breath way past a minute and a half,
Hmm.
and some mornings I can't. I almost can't get to a minute and a half, and I 100% know that it's psychological. It's not physical. You know.
Hmm.
So.
Yeah. I'll make one other comment about this discomfort because to we live in such a time, a place, a that is all about comfort, right? Being on the at least the way I we grew up, laying on the couch, comfortable was not, occasionally to watch a movie or something, but that was not in the cards. You would get yelled at or you'd get,
Get outside.
get outside, do something. But
Yeah.
we have created a whole culture of comfort. People that's what they want to do. They just want to lay on the couch, watch TV, and be comfortable. But think what that does to your brain. If you're just watching TV, that's not your own thoughts, right? If you're wrapped up in a blanket all day long, and that's all you're doing, and you're not taking yourself out of the comfort, you don't grow. It's just
No,
you're
you definitely don't. And there's this
yeah,
phrase, I always get it wrong because it's a little tricky, but it's about strong men and weak men and how they make hard times and soft times.
yeah,
It's a good quote. I wish I had it at my
yeah.
fingertips, but yeah,
But
I
this is
think
a cultural thing that in certain families, this is very common. It's what they do. And I'm not criticizing it, but there is a difference to be, even comfort foods, right? Eating cakes or popcorn, and it's
I'm good at not doing that. I don't have
yeah,
too much trouble with that. But no, I know people that sit on the couch. I know
that's what
people that
they do.
they
Yeah.
watch TV all the time, and I won't mention their names because some of them are pretty close to me.
Yeah.
So, you want anything else on that one?
No, I'm good. Let's move on.
Okay. So number 5 is keep your word to yourself.
Mhm.
This is big, I think. This is big for me. You make promises to others and break promises to yourself. You commit to clients and meet work deadlines, but the commitments you make in private get abandoned the moment they become inconvenient. This pattern destroys self-discipline at its root. The Stoics knew that integrity starts with self-trust. If you can't keep a simple promise to yourself, how can you trust yourself to do anything complicated? Every broken commitment is evidence that you're unreliable. The content of the promise matters less than the act of keeping it. You're not just building a habit, you're rebuilding trust with yourself. Each kept promise is proof that you're someone who follows through.
Mhm.
I think this one might be the most important one to me. I was actually
Yeah.
talking to you about this in the pregame, and I think that for me, it's really easy to do this. So to me, it would be maybe a way to think about this would be when do we promise ourselves things?
Mhm.
Do we do that on a conscious level or do we do that on a subconscious level? I think we do
Mhm.
both. I think I do both. But if you're not consciously promising yourself something, how can you consciously break the promise?
Yeah.
Right. So
Well,
that's why I think it's interesting.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Just to add to what you're saying, that the takeaway on this is self trust. The whole podcast has become about the self hyphen self awareness being number one. We're going to be much more self aware of our self discipline after this episode, right? But we don't talk about self trust very often, and that's trusting yourself that you're going to follow through. Uh, I've done this talk before. It's what I love about our country, my country, is that I really believe that you're a judge based on the results. So particularly in uh, sports, athletics, the results that you provide. Nobody really cares what color hair you have, what color skin you have. It's the results. Same with business.
Hmm.
And when somebody trusts that you're going to deliver what you said you would do, whether
Hmm.
it's a service, a product, or make a play or a block or whatever the sport is, there's
Hmm.
and that's the self trust. It's the trust that you'll follow through. It's a bond, it's a connection, and very few people can do it. They can talk about what they're going to do, but can they do it? But first, you have to start with yourself. When you said you're going to do something, you made a promise to yourself that you're going to follow through with it,
Yeah,
on time, all the
back,
time.
yeah, back to my comment to begin number five, though, I think I do this is I'll say in the back of my mind, I'll make sure you do that tomorrow. Like simple stuff. My cactus fell down a couple of weeks ago. I've been cutting it up with a chainsaw and they won't take it all at once. So I got to fill up the bin Thursday, bring it out to the street. And if I miss a week, it's disappointing for me.
Yeah,
But it's not a conscious thing. Like I just throw the comment out to myself, make sure you get to that tomorrow. But that allows me in the morning to go, if I don't, it's too cold or I don't feel like it, or I got something else I'd rather do, then break that promise to myself because I didn't really make the promise. I tossed it out as a casual to-do list kind of thing. You know what I
hmm,
mean? And
I do. Yeah,
I think if you make the promise like out loud to yourself, or you write it down, or you tell someone else about it, maybe that'll make it more difficult to break,
yeah,
or more easy to
yeah.
fulfill.
The other one, this one is, and you've heard me say this, like 90% of life is showing up, right? So I always think of that. If I don't show up, then I'm the guy that doesn't show up, and it's hard to show up even when you don't feel like showing up or you don't something's not right, but you show up anyway. So the last, what it says, that each keep promise is proof that you're someone uh, who follows through. There's very few people that follow through, and when you find them, it really makes a difference. So
Well, I think to me, what I take away from this is more of what I just said. I think the reason that we've got 120 or 130, whatever it is, episodes in the can is because I show up every day Wednesday at 1 o'clock, and you show up every Wednesday at 1 o'clock Eastern. And if we were doing it on
yeah,
our own, what do you think the percentage probability would be that we were able to keep that pace going on our own without any accountability? I
yeah.
think it would be dramatically lower.
Oh, there's no question. Man. What
So
it's
that's the accountability buddy thing. And as much as I hate that name, um, I think that I'm going to start doing more of that. I'm going to make a promise to myself, and I'm going to tell someone else about it. Maybe Shayla, maybe you.
Yeah.
So and see, maybe that's a decent experiment to consider. But
Mhm.
The conclusion is just wrapping it up, I suppose. We have a few more minutes, but
Mhm.
these 5 Stoic rules aren't revolutionary or complex. They're simple, practical, and brutally effective. Focus on what you control, act on principle instead of feeling, delay gratification to build strength, choose discomfort before it chooses you, keep the promises you make to yourself. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm smiling now because I think that as I read the conclusion, I'm like, yeah, people that are running the country and running for office, they don't do any of this shit.
Yeah. But
So I think that, a couple of passing thoughts. I think that what we were talking about in the pregame, what I was talking about anyway, the guilt stuff and the hypocrisy stuff. I think all of these rules help prevent that.
mhm.
They'll move the guilt bar down quite a bit because if you're fulfilling your promises to others and to yourself, that there's no room for guilt, which I kind of like. I think
Mhm.
this is one of the episodes, Jim. I'm going to take this document and I'm going to do something with it, and it's going to change my behavior in some small capacity because the more we talk about it and the more I read this, it's really intriguing to me how, and I think this is life. You tell me, but I think life is
Oh,
about
it's
turning the levers just a little bit every day, just like a little better today than yesterday, just a tiny, tiny bit, and stop worrying about the outcomes, like they say, and just focus. I think finding yourself a process, and I'm going to look at my process too, and I'm going to see where there are areas of opportunity to make
yeah.
it easier or become more consistent with some things. This was
Yeah.
impactful for me.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's again, as I mentioned, if I find something like this, I came across this is an article, I came across it online somewhere, but
Hmm.
what I'll find, like to your point, if it's something that's worthy of keeping, I created a Google Doc, but and then I'll thin it down. I'll just get rid of a lot of this, some of the stuff that was there, and then I'll print it out in large font and put it on my workout wall because
Mm.
then it reminds me. But to your point, Mark, it's the fundamentals, it's the basics. It's easy to get caught up or get online and you go down all these different rabbit holes, but the Stoic, the wisdom of a Stoic is timeless, and you find that some of the best stuff out there, wasn't isn't anything new. They've been doing this for
No, most of, and the other thing, I always think of my dad when we talk about simplicity stuff and we talk
yeah,
about consistency. He does a lot of little things over and over and over, and they have served him well. And he loves to say,
mhm,
Mark, life is simple. We're always trying to complicate it. It's just simple. And to your point, it's the fundamentals. None of this stuff is complicated.
yeah,
And I bet you everybody who sees this doc or listens to this episode is like, yeah, man, I got to do more of that.
mhm,
And the final phrase for me is that we do need to be reminded a lot more frequently than we need to be taught new shit.
yeah,
This
yeah.
is nothing. There's nothing new in here. It's
There's
just
nothing
great
new.
reminders and
Yeah,
perspective and
yeah,
context.
yeah. And then the word self. It's such a simple but important word. At the end of the day, it's ourselves. It's mentioned here several times, but I make it a point to capitalize the S and then the hyphen, uh,
Hmm.
because that's everything you need to know. It starts with yourself, self trust, self awareness, self disciplines. They just don't end, right?
No, they don't. And the other thing that strikes me as we talk through this and wrap things up is this idea of having an agent for this kind of thing, and
Yeah, yeah,
having an objective third party, perhaps
mhm,
with some wisdom and particular experience in this area.
yeah,
It's just makes stuff so much more likely to come true when you have
mhm,
someone else that's guiding you and helping you move from emotional and subjective to objective and simple, you know?
mhm.
And I just think that's at least in part what you and I are interested in helping other men with, other people with.
Well, yeah, that's is why when we started this off, it really went full circle because when this podcast was inspired, it was first the name. Let's come up with a name, right? Which is basically a community, the Imperfect Men's Club podcast. It's a club. Uh, I think as men, these are not things we've talked about traditionally,
Mm,
especially at this stage in our life. But the
No.
tagline that we came up with, which is actually on my wall, I've used it for years, is the imperfection is the perfection,
Hmm.
and that's so important. We often get caught up in doing everything so perfect and then don't do it, but it's progress, not perfection.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's good stuff. I'm gonna actually use some of this in a practical capacity and see where it takes me. Stay tuned.
All
And
right.
I forgot to do this last time, but for anybody that's still listening, really would appreciate it. We're trying to spread the word. We got some traction. We have like 700 subscribers to our newsletter on LinkedIn, the Imperfect Men's Club. So if you're listening and you're not subscribed, please subscribe. It's the same type of content. It's the same kind of discussions. And then for anybody that this resonates with, share it with other men. We got to get, I want to break this conversation open with more
Yep.
men. And the best, most effective way to spread it online, I've been told, is on the Apple platform where you can give it stars and reviews and rate it. And every five of those we get, we reach a much broader audience.
Yeah.
It's an algorithm. So
Yeah.
thanks for that, anybody who's listening. And
Yeah.
thanks, Jim.
Well, thank you. Until next week, Mark.
Okay, see you.